Disclaimer, everything you're about to hear is 100% my own opinion. Just heads up. Hello guys and gals, lords and ladies, saints and sinners of every kind. Welcome to Rise of Jerusalem, your Catholic podcast for teens. I am your host, Connor McLaughlin, and this week I am going to be talking about Jesus' magnum opus, his great work, his Mona Lisa, if he was Da Vinci. Mona Lisa was done by Da Vinci, right? Yeah, we're good. All right. So, was it done by Da Vinci? I'm going to say it was. Let's just go with it. Whoever made the Mona Lisa, I'm pretty sure it was Da Vinci. Whoever made the Mona Lisa, this parable, this story is like that to Jesus. Well, a lot of people consider it like that to Jesus. And I am talking about Luke 15, 11 through 32. And all the Bible nerds are like, yes, of course. We 100% knew that. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you don't have the entire Bible memorized or the Gospels or are really, really nerdy, I'm talking about the parable of the lost son, or the parable of the prodigal son, or the parable of the good father, or the parable of the running father, or the parable of the forgiving father, or the parable of the two brothers. There's so many names for this parable. But Cliff Notes version, if you haven't maybe heard it before, which I don't understand, son says, Dad, give me money. Dad gives son money. Son wastes money. Son eat with pigs. Son gets repentant. Son goes back to father. Father loves him and throws him a party. Older son gets angry. Basically, Cliff Notes version. If you still don't know what I'm talking about, it starts off with, a man had two sons, and the younger one said to his father, Father, give me the share of my inheritance that should come to me. That one. You know what I'm talking about. So, I'm going to talk about this, like I said at the beginning of the episode, this is 100% my opinion. This isn't a specific church thing. I'm not going to be spouting, this is the official documentation of the church. This is just my personal opinion on this parable. And an issue, really, I have with this parable, because a lot of people consider this to be Jesus' greatest work, and I disagree. I'm sorry. I hate to say it, but I disagree. Shocker, I know. But it's like he's telling every parable he tells for a reason. I think this is just another parable he's telling for a reason. And I'll get into why people mess it up and stuff at the end of it. All right, at the end, later on when I keep talking, because I talk a lot. So let's start off. Let's take this in context. What is happening? What is Jesus saying? Well, he's talking to crowds, right? And tax collectors and sinners are coming to him, right? Because they won't listen. And the Pharisees and scribes are flipping out. They're saying, oh, this man welcomes sinners and eats with them. And like in Jewish times, that was a really, really, really big issue. Now, right after that, Jesus says to them, what man among you having 100 sheep and losing one would not leave the 99 and go find the one who is lost? In the same way, the joy that the shepherd will have when he finds that lost sheep will be insignificant to the joy in heaven over one sinner who repents than over 99 righteous people who have no need of repentance. And then he tells the parable of the lost coin, in which a woman has 10 coins, loses one, finds it, and in the same way, there will be rejoicing among the angels of God over one sinner who repents. And then he tells the story of the prodigal son. So these two stories have the same thing. It's over one sinner who repents. So the parable of the prodigal son follows this idea that there will be rejoicing over one who repents. However, it goes a little bit step further. That is all it talks about. And he does use it in a lot more dramatic language, because like the son asking for his inheritance for his father. You know, the son would receive inheritance after his father died. So it's basically like saying, all right, dude, you're getting old. I just want my stuff now. I want to be done with you. And he leaves the country, it says. And leaving the country, leaving the place where your father is, leaving the place where your family is, that's also super crazy. So at this point, all of the tax collectors, the scribes, the Pharisees, everybody is just like, holy cow, what is this dude doing? He's being crazy. He literally squanders, it says, he squanders it off on a life of dissipation. You know, he was basically living in sin, saying, all right, I'm going to go for pleasure, I'm going to live for myself. And then a severe famine strikes, and he is in dire need, and he realizes, I'm going to go back to my father, because my father, I would be able to get food. I would be able to be nourished. All right? And in that is this idea that we, and this is 100% true, we cannot be nourished by earthly things. We can be nourished by God's love. And so when he goes up to his father comes up to him and doesn't even care about anything he's done. He says, my son who is dead has come to life again. And that's just like sin. When we are dead in sin, we come to life again through the glory of the sacrament of confession. We come to life in God, come to life in grace. And God is rejoicing over that. And then he goes one step further in this parable, because unlike the other two where it was just a great party, there are two sons in this story. And the second son is really important because he is the son who is angry. Because he's like, and he literally says, look, all these years I served you. Like, he sounds like a whiny teenager almost. He's like, look, all these years I served you. You couldn't even give me a goat to feast on with my friends. But even now your son returns, who swallowed up your property or his money with prostitutes, and him you slaughter the fattened calf. And the father replies, you are here with me always. Everything I have is yours. But now we must celebrate and rejoice because your brother was dead and has come to life again. He was lost and has been found. Now, Jesus never specifically says at the end, amen, I say to you, or say, so too, I tell you. Or I tell you in just the same way like he does the other two. Because this is reiterating the point of the lost coin and the lost sheep. Because what's happening is it's something that is lost, and the greatness of the person who used to be in possession or under whose care it used to be rejoices. And if Jesus just wanted to tell one more story just like that, he would have left out the older son. But the older son represents the Pharisees and the scribes, those who are scoffing at others, saying, hold on. How is this person getting all this attention, getting all this greatness because they returned, whereas I've been faithful, period? And yes, I agree, the actions of the older son is wrong. Whenever someone comes into the church, it's a beautiful thing. We shouldn't have the idea of, look, I've been faithful. Why am I not getting this recognition? I mean, that can happen in life in general. You can see people who are getting recognition for doing the smallest little itty bitty thing. And you can say, hey, I've been doing stuff way more than that person for ages and ages and ages, and no one has taken up and noticed. Now, the father's response is a little bit weird. He says, my son, you're here with me always. Everything I have is yours. But your son has returned. And so now is the time. It's a time to celebrate and rejoice because your brother was dead and has come to life. He is lost and has been found. Now, when he's saying everything I have is yours, he's not being figurative, because they don't mention that he has other brothers. A man has two sons, only two sons. And because the younger son stole his inheritance, everything of the father's is the older son's. Everything. It's not a 50-50 split anymore. So here's the question. If it's such a beautiful parable, and I keep saying it's a beautiful parable, what's my issue with this? So a lot of people misuse this parable. And by a lot, I mean a ton of people misuse this parable. They use the parable to say, if you have, just like the prodigal son, if you have sinned, you can come back to the Father. Is that true? Yes, I agree, 100%. If you have sinned, you can come back to the Father. And some people, I heard someone, I don't even remember, it might have been a priest, they said, in the prodigal son, everyone can identify themselves. This is where I start to disagree. Because in the story of the prodigal son, it's just like the story of the lost sheep and the lost coin. It's just showing that sometimes people, maybe in the lost coin, there are people who are like, oh, well, it's just one coin. I have thousands of coins. Nor the lost sheep, one person saying, oh, it's just a sheep. It really doesn't matter. But in the lost son, he's really showing this idea of someone who has issues with this. Now, people will agree that you can identify yourself in this. I disagree. Because a lot of people say everyone has had that moment when they're at a lowest point and they turn to God. I mean, I guess. Or somebody has always had that moment when they say, or everybody will experience that moment. Or maybe it's just you who have experienced that moment. When you hear that someone has gotten stuff and you say, hey, what about me? I've been doing all this good. Or you've had to be that father and forgive someone who has wronged you. Or you are like the ring, welcoming, saying, you're back, welcome home. Here's the problem I have. You don't have to be any one of these characters. Because this isn't Jesus saying, identify yourself in this character and please write in 300 words or less what you think you are and how you can improve your life in me. No, what Jesus is saying is he's telling a story of forgiveness and that, yeah, some people will have issues with this, with people coming back to the Father and saying, hold on, that guy was a mess. How can you say that I've been doing all this stuff great for forever? How are you saying that that guy's the one we should rejoice over when I've been doing it greatly? You don't have to identify with any of these characters. You don't have to have a point in your life when you're at your lowest point. You don't have to have a point where you forgive someone. You don't have to have a point where you're jealous over people. And this is where I really you don't have to have a point where you forgive someone who has wronged you. You don't have to have a point where you're jealous over someone's success. You don't have to have a point where you are 100% in the darkest, deepest place and you return to the Father and you realize the Father's love for us. No. And this is the issue I have, okay? This is what I call the prodigal son generalization. Because I've heard a lot of talks, and a lot of talks that speakers give at conferences, right? And a lot of the times, they're the same old. I was in a rough spot, I realized that Jesus had it all for me, and I changed my life, and I started living for him. And yeah, there were struggles, but, I knew that Jesus had my back. Here's the thing. If we're comparing the prodigal to real life, okay, those people will be the prodigal son. And yes, 100% God is the Father. And yes, 100% there will be people who say, hey, I've served you all these years I've served you. But here's the deal. Not everyone has that moment of redemption. And not everyone has the moment of jealousy. There are tons and tons and tons of people who have just lived a good life, have never really had and there are a lot of people in today's society, today's culture that are like, okay, yeah, no, maybe my parents aren't super Catholic or I just really was never Catholic and then I came back to faith and it was good. Great, beautiful. I love that. But think about this. There is that other side of people who are being sorely forgotten and neglected. And those are the people who are like, no, I grew up in a good Catholic home. My parents raised me, and I've just tried to love God as good as I can every day of my life. And if we're comparing them automatically, if we have to compare them, we'll be like, well, you're not the son, and you're not the father, so I guess you're the older brother. You're jealous over other people when they are able to be saved. And it's like, no, why? So this is where I'm standing right now. It's like, I've just lived a good life, try to love God as good as I can, born of good Catholic parents, just trying to live, trying to be good, trying to follow God everywhere in my life. And if someone said to me, well, that means that you must be angry and refuse to enter the house of the Lord. It's like, no, why? If someone comes into the Father, if someone realizes that God is great and comes to him, I am not going to have an issue with that. Why would I have an issue with that? It's someone returning to God. And yes, in this moment, Jesus is talking to the Pharisees and scribes, but that doesn't make us Pharisees and scribes. Think about this. When I was talking about those speakers, okay, that's what they tell over and over and over again. Hey, I was in a bad place. You may be in a bad place, and I'm telling you, come to Jesus. He's great. He's the great Father. He'll throw a feast for you. There will be great rejoicing in heaven. But you don't have to be that. You don't have to be jealous. You just have to be someone who is trying every day to be the best you can. So if someone says, hey, the prodigal son is the greatest work that Jesus ever said, the greatest parable of all time. This is why I disagree. Because they state this off of saying that it is perfect and that there is nothing wrong with it and that everybody can compare themselves and everyone can relate. I disagree. I can't relate. And I'm just saying this is like an angry thing over other people. It's just the truth. You don't have to be any of these people. So what does that mean? Well, next time you hear the prodigal son, don't think, oh, which one of these people can I actually relate to? Which one of these am I at this moment? Instead think, wow, someone had returned to Christ. Beautiful. Great rejoicing. Don't be the angry son. You don't have to try, well, I guess I'm an evil person and I have to return to God. Don't martyr yourself like that. Be the person inside at the party celebrating. Because that's who you are. That's it. That is who you are in that moment, is the person celebrating the one who was lost and now has been found, the one who is dead and has come to life again. And that's my issue. No one talks about that. No one talks about how there are tons and tons of Catholics who just try to live a good life. Because talking about them would change it. And I'm not being the... You're going to say, well, you're being the good son saying, you've done great work, or you should be... No, I'm not saying that these people should be recognized. And I'm not saying these people should be paraded. I'm just saying that you don't have to identify yourself. I'm just saying that not everyone can relate to this parable 100% like people say. I'm just misproving that myth, I'm just disproving this myth that this is the best, perfect parable. Is there a perfect parable? No, because each parable Jesus has is relating to something different and for a different circumstance. The parable of the prodigal son is telling two things. When someone has been lost and returns to God, there will be rejoicing. And we should not hold it in our hearts to despise those people and think more highly of ourselves than of others. That's it. Maybe I'm completely off my rocker. If there's anyone who's like a learned theologian, oh, please, by all means, tell me. Tell me I'm wrong. I want to know if I'm wrong. I think I'm correct. But that's the beauty of Catholicism, is that if I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. I'm willing to admit it. Hope you guys weren't extremely bored over this episode with me just ranting. But yeah, it's kind of what I wanted to talk about, is the prodigal son. And just, it's gotten boring hearing the same speakers tell the same stories. Not that the stories aren't amazing, but come on. Can we get more speakers who are just like, nah, just try to live a good Catholic life? And again, not discrediting in any way, shape, or form, like the stories of, like, I don't know, Mark Hart has a beautiful story about how he first turned to God through confession and the Eucharist, and I think it's beautiful. I'm just saying that the prodigal son is not the perfect parable that everyone holds it up to be. That's all I'm saying. Don't misconstrue my words, please. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe, tweet me, email me, tell me what you want me to talk about next. Do you want me to yell more about ranting about Catholicism? Because I will do that. I am no way, shape, or form objected to ranting about Catholicism, because it's kind of what to do. If you want more ranting about Catholicism, there is an episode that I did a few weeks ago called Our Lady of Guadalupe, where I rant about the beauty of Our Lady of Guadalupe. You'll learn a lot. Our Lady of Guadalupe is amazing. She's like the coolest ever. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. And as it was in the beginning, is now, and never shall be, rise up and live.